Hey, everybody, welcome back to Crushing It 2021. This is day 3. Okay, so first thing I want to do is go over some of your assignments and let's dig into those a little bit more and make sure that we have them down. So I want to first talk about assignment from day 1, and I'm going to share with you mine. Okay, so one of the assignments was a time that we succeeded and a time that we didn't, and why we did or didn't in both areas. So I'm going to take the fact that for many years, I was trying to up level my business. We have like different distinct areas in our business where we get to different levels and we earn higher commissions and things like that. So for many years, well, let's start back a little bit. So there was a time in my life when I started my business where I had a certain level of confidence and I grew really fast. I did really great in the first couple of years. Then my story happened, which is I went through a divorce and blah, 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 right? So that's the story. Because the truth is, if I didn't have a story, I would have kept growing. But my story was, I went through divorce and I had to deal with all of that. And then I started dating a guy, and then I had to sell my house and move into his. And then we had to get married. And, the story, it's all a story. None of it's real. But I also came from a long history of the story of struggle and lack. And even though I went really fast in those first couple years, I always had this lingering doubt inside of me. Like I always thought, yeah, I don't know how I did that. Maybe I grew really fast because it was a fluke. Maybe something just happened. I don't know if I can keep, operating at that level. I don't know if I can keep doing that. And I just had this lingering doubt, and it came from a lack of confidence, a lack of self-worth, the belief that I didn't get to have those kind of things, the belief that eventually I'm going to mess it up because, that was part of my story. So I had all these stories around this, the stories that kept me from doing things, the stories that kept me small and kept me limited. And I kept saying I was going for it. But the truth of the matter is I never showed up like I was going for it. So here's why it didn't ever happen for me. I didn't take any kind of consistent action. I had a bad attitude. Quite frankly, I was in self-pity. I would see other people just grow and expand and do great things. And I was like, God, how are they doing that? Like, why did they get to do that? There's a lot of self-pity around it. And I said I was being consistent, but truthfully, I wasn't. There was no way I was being any kind of consistent. And I just didn't really believe it. I didn't believe I was capable. I didn't think I could do it. And I just kept spiraling down and down. And in fact, my business did not only not grow, it started going backwards. And then I remember, sometimes we're motivated. This has kind of nothing to do with it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Sometimes we're motivated by things that happen around us. And sometimes the fear of a story staying the same is something that motivates us. And one of the things that shifted for me, there were several things, but there's always several things, but one of them was my husband had started not believing in me. And I actually considered going and getting an actual job instead of continuing to grow and work my business. But then I began to do the work I needed to shift all of that. And that's why we're here today. However, that's the story of the time it didn't work out. So the moral of the story is my limiting beliefs, my self-doubt, my lack of consistent activity, the plague of everything that I had was what kept me from actually growing. Flip the script here. So here's another situation. We were living in Eric's house. He'd brought his kids up there, and he said he'd stay in that house as long as he had children that were growing up in that house, and he raised his kids. And so I understood that. However, I never felt like I really fit in. I kind of moved in around everybody. It was their home. It was never really my home. And I really wanted to have a home of our own. Plus, it wasn't my home in the fact that I like things light and airy and bright and spacious and all of those kind of things. So I wanted to move, and I wanted to move, and I wanted to move. And it finally had become like it wasn't okay for me to be there anymore. The quicker we could move, the better off I was going to feel. And so let me tell you the things that we did that made a difference. First of all, we dream built. We'd go look at houses. We'd look at houses on a regular basis. And then one day we walked into the house, and I just knew it was the house. And that very same day, we went to actually go talk to somebody about that house and look at an actual model of that house. And we just went for it. Like we had no idea how we were going to actually do it. It was above really what we wanted to be in price point wise. We just didn't know how it was going to going to make it happen, but we just started taking the action and doing the next step and doing the next step. And I'm going to tell you, things aligned up eventually, like you would not believe. But at first, everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. we sold our other house right away. Then that fell through. And then they actually put our house back on the market, and we thought we were going to lose it. It was just one catastrophe after the other. I was living the whole time in a completely high stressed out state of being. And I wasn't really living in a place of faith. And so the more that went wrong, the more I spiraled down. But then I knew that if I was ever going to have a chance of getting this house, I had to change. So what I started doing, my consistent activity and action was I started meditating every day, and I started envisioning it. And I would envision it with a positive outcome, with a good feeling. And I would see myself in it. I would see myself in the kitchen, looking out through the backyard. I would feel my family here and see what it was like when they were here. I did that whole thing. And then I also decided that it was this house or something better. Because the truth of the matter is, it's always what you have or something better if you choose it to be. It can be worse or it can stay the same. But if you want what you want is what the feeling is that thing is giving you. I'm going to give you another little side story. So let's say I'm going to talk about Joe. Joe works at a company and he really wants to be in a relationship. There's a gal there that he kind of likes and he thinks he could be in a relationship with her. And he puts his projection focus on her, and he's focusing on her and focusing on her. And he's trying to build this relationship. And even though it's not quite fitting together very well, he keeps working on that relationship anyway. But what Joe doesn't know is that Sally is about to come and start working at his same company, and she's actually a perfect fit. But he's so focused on this other gal that when Sally arrives, he doesn't even pay any attention to her. He's not focused on the possibility of the lady he's got his attention on or something better. So I want you to think about anything that you want. You want to get into the feeling of what it is that you want. And then you focus on this feeling. This is the feeling I want. But you know what, God, there might be something even better for me than this. And I don't want to close down my possibilities and just be this. I want this or something better. So that's the first part of assignment from day one. The second part was a brain dump. You just write everything down. Just make a list of everything you could possibly want for this next year. Everything you could possibly, everything you want to have, do, achieve, or accomplish in all the areas, especially in health, relationships, career/business, and finances. So I wrote my big list, and it's a brain dump. I hope you all did the same. Now, day two, what we wanted to do is go through each of those main areas for sure, but you can do this in every area of your life, okay? And you want to select each one of those goals. So what I did was I took like health first, health and fitness, and then I went back through this list and I pulled everything that was related to health or fitness out of there. And then I moved it over to my health and fitness list. And I kind of wrote the picture of what I wanted. I kind of started getting a picture of what I wanted. And then I wrote the story of how my life was like now. This is part of this homework for this. You want to go through and say, okay, but let's get gut level honest. Where am I right this second? Let's say I want to be healthy and fit. Well, where am I right now? You know, like, where am I? Truthfully, let's talk about it. I'm 20 pounds overweight. I'm eating sugar all the time. You know, what does that picture look like? I've gotten flabby. I can't stretch anymore. I'm so stiff. I never exercise. And not just write the gut level honest picture of where you are now, but feel it. I want you to feel it because I want you to be able to transfer those feelings. So first, write where you are now, why you don't like it, and what it feels like. Then you're going to flip that script and you're going to write a new story in present tense as if it's already happened. So I'm going to give you an example. So I am so sexy and fit that my husband looks at me like he's looking at me for the first time every time I walk in the room. I feel confident in my skin. I know I look amazing. I'm an exemplary example of what a very fit, sexy woman of my age looks like. You can see the muscles in my arms. My waist is tiny. My clothes fit and slide over my body comfortably, and everything looks good on me. I feel amazing and I have crazy amounts of energy. And that's just a part of my health story, okay? So you want to write that and you want to really feel that. Then you want to write the action steps. You want to write every action step that you can think of that's possible that will help you get to that place, okay? Now, part B, or the last part of that part, which is part of your homework for today, is to pick one action step and put it into practice, okay? So what could it be? Could it be giving up sugar? Well, give up sugar. Like, pick your date, start on Monday, whatever, and give up sugar. And then take giving up sugar and what it looks like. You got to take that and break it down. What are you going to do instead of sugar? When do you have sugar cravings that you need something to overcome? What will happen if you keep eating sugar? What will happen when you give up sugar? Write the whole dramatic, like not dramatic, but like the whole script around that as well. And then you're just going to focus on that one thing, just that one thing. That's it. And you're going to focus on that one thing until it becomes a part of who you are. We have a whole year here. One of the biggest problems that people do is they try to flip too much at one time and they don't make it a part of who they are. And it doesn't last. I want to help you guys create things that last. Okay. So that was day 1 and day 2. So now we're on to day 3. So I want to ask you this question. Do you believe that you create your own reality? Do you believe that what we think about has an impact on our life? Do you believe that what we focus on is what we get? Well, here's what I believe. I believe we create our life in the conversations we have about it. Literally everything that we say, first it starts with what we think, then it comes out of our mouth, and everything that we say is what we create. So let me give you a little information. And let's talk about how the words we say affect the outcome. So there's a Japanese scientist named Masaru Emoto who wrote a whole book and did a whole documentary about when you take water, when you freeze it, what it looks like and what kind of energy it has. So when it's frozen, the water that's free from all the impurities makes beautiful ice crystals. And they look like snowflakes. And he's got all these beautiful pictures under a microscope. It's just fascinating. But when the water's polluted or has additives like fluoride, it's going to freeze without forming crystals, or it'll have some kind of random, inconsistent formation. So not only did he look at those things, but he took water and he put words on it, like I hate you or fear. And then after 24 hours, it was frozen, and he looked at under the crystallized forms under the microscope, and it would yield gray, misshapen clumps instead of beautiful lace-like crystals. In contrast, he would place labels that said things like, I love you, and peace on the vials. And even up the polluted water, after 24 hours, they froze it, and they made perfectly hexagonal crystals. So you should definitely look at that. Look on YouTube and look for the hidden messages of water, and look on Netflix too and see if there's anything for it about that there. It's just phenomenally amazing. If our words do that to polluted water, or to even beautiful clean water that we say I hate, and we make it look all misshapen because of all the energy and projection and the words that we're putting into it. What do you think that's doing to your own body? Do you feel better when you say ugly things about yourself or ugly things about other people? Does that elevate you? Does that make you feel energized and happy? Well, of course not. And Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And let's put it this way. God says for us to call things that aren't as though they are. So he also says life and death is by our tongue, right? I don't remember exactly how that goes. And the more we hear something, the more power it has over us. The more repetition, the more we say it, the more we hear it, the more power it has over us. And I'm going to tell you why that is. What happens is we really create neural pathways inside of our brain. And the more we think about something or say something and become where we believe something, the stronger the neural pathways get. And these neural pathways get like well-grooved ruts in the road, and they're easy to follow and they're easy to stay within. And it's really not easy to get off that rut and get into a new pathway. But as we start creating a new way of thinking, speaking, and believing, we start building new neural pathways. And I like to look at it like they're neural highways. And if you go down the old neural highway, it is wide and it is smooth and it's easy to stay in that. And you know exactly where it's going. But you start creating this new highway, and it's kind of narrow and it's bumpy and it's kind of dark, and you don't know exactly where it's leading. But the more you work on this new neural highway, the bigger, the smoother, the brighter it gets. And this other old highway starts to close down and break down and become less accessible. The thing is, when we first start doing it, we're going to flip back over the old highway, and it's going to be easy and comfortable at first, but then we're going to start realizing we don't like the way we feel when we're there, and we will consciously flip back. This takes conscious effort. It takes being aware of what we think and what we say. I used to walk around saying things like, God, I'm so tired. Sometimes I still do, honestly. Or somebody asked me, How are you doing? Oh, I'm so tired. Or, oh, I'm so busy. Those are the kind of things that we just say, right? Without even thinking about it. We all do it. And we have to really consider what this is doing to us. The more we say we're tired, the more tired we will feel. The more we say we're busy, the more busy we will feel, right? So we also say things like, I'm depressed, I'm unhappy, I'm anxious, my husband drives me crazy, the kids are getting on my nerves. Well, as I mentioned before, you don't start feeling any better, right? Your husband doesn't drive you any less crazy, the kids don't get any less on your nerves the more you say it. So we really need to say something new. And at first, we won't believe it. And at first, we won't feel we won't feel it, but it'll very quickly change. And then we're going to start wanting to live in this new place. So here's your assignment for day 3. We're going to look at all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are not serving you. And I just want you, again, to set a timer for like 10 minutes. And I want you to write down every thought, emotion, and feeling that doesn't serve you. Everything you say, everything you think, and especially do it in every area that you're working on changing this year. So if it's in health, do you say you're fat? God, I'm so fat. God, I'm so lazy. God, I wish I could get up and work out. Like everything that's not serving you in each one of these areas and write them all down. If it's in finances, do you say things like, I'm broke, I'm in debt, uh, God, it's always like this, I'm so tired of it being this way, we never have enough money? Like if you're saying all those kind of things, you need to write them down, because we need to create a new way of thinking, speaking, and believing. And as we create this new neural pathway, things will actually energetically change around us, just like the water crystals did. So pick each one of these areas, go through each one of them, write the things that you're feeling, saying, and all the things that aren't serving you. So again, that's thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are not serving you. Write them all down, and then take the time to flip the switch. I want you to come back, and I want you to share here on YouTube or on the Facebook group. Share some of the thoughts, emotions, and feelings that you've discovered, and share with us what the new script is. Now, remember, I'm going to be on Facebook Live every day to answer questions around this or talk more about this. So make sure to ask questions in the Facebook group, or put your comments in the Facebook group too, or here on YouTube. I'll take them from both places and I will answer these questions and make sure you guys get your questions answered around all of this stuff. Okay, great. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for crushing it with me for 2021. I hope all of this is proving powerful, and I really hope that you take the time. I know you probably haven't finished the first assignment, and that is okay. Keep working on it every day, because if you're doing it right, it's going to take some time. If you have any questions about them, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys soon back here tomorrow, crushing it with me in 2021.